Welcome back, you filthy exiles. I thought I'd do a really quick video just because I have the tracker for Path of Exile 2. Now, where I'm at right now, if I can remember, I'm in Act 3, about halfway through Act 3. And to give you a bit of an idea of the currency that I've had so far, I've got the tracker, which is the MTX that I paid for. Sorry, move that mic out of the way. Now, like, if we remember back to the 010 release, right, they had to release a patch to essentially adjust the drop rates. One of the biggest issues was simply trying to get things working. Now, for the most of it, right, I have no currency, right, and the problem with this is that you need currency to be able to gear up. Like I'm still running, for example, like yeah, Magic Shield. I can't get Regals to even drop, and the rares that I'm getting, like I'm trying to get consistent upgrades, but it's just not happening. The vendors relying on gambers at the vendors is just horrific, especially with spears. Though my build is going well, that's because my pathing tree is really good and the skills that I'm using are scaling up based on that, less so than the actual gear that I'm using. The Smith of Katava also allows me to all, res cap early, things like that. I've got 63% block and a lot of life recovery. But the biggest issue is the amount of sustainable currency that you need in the absence of things like alteration orbs, one great example. Crafting bench, another great example. If we had those things, you'd be able to gear up a lot more proficiently throughout the campaign and deal with some of the difficulty. In the absence of that, we have to rely on drops, right? And this is where the problems I think are starting to show, because the way that I see this almost feels like a phantom nerf backwards to get rid of the enhanced drop rates that got put in the last patch when players complain about not getting enough loot to be able to gear up. So I have the cosmetic on my account, which is the Exile's Pilfering Ring, right? As we can see here, I've had 52 transmutes, 8 augmentation orbs, 2 alchemy orbs, 7 regals, 3 Veil orbs, and 14 exalts. I've had 3 jewelers orbs, and that's from 2 have dropped from the location where you get a guaranteed drop in Act 3 before you get up to the encampment. So those we don't even count that. So technically, only one has actually dropped as I've been leveling up. So I could get a 4 link on setups and then 2 gem cutters. Now, like I've had essentially horrific drops. Gear that's dropping on the ground is not good. And this in itself indicates that there is clearly been some has been some buff rollbacks, especially in the drop rates. Like I'm very well progressed and almost in maps, right? So this is just to give you an idea. The biggest issue with this situation is that it just makes it totally unsustainable to progress through. You're not getting power or damage. It's like anything that could have given you power outside of like balancing defenses to the point where you can sustain big hits, which is what I've done. That's how I've managed to have a bit more of an enjoyable play experience. Basically, if you're playing a glass cannon, you're screwed. A lot of the skills have been run into the dirt as well. So, like Bell, for example, the Tempest Bell has been totally destroyed. But yeah, it just feels like they took any buff that was put in to make the game feel a bit better and went, okay, you're not going to have that in the campaign. Now, what it also feels like is all the positive changes that we can see that, make the game feel good are all focused on the end game. Now, I go back to what I said about 0.1.0, right? This was something that was inevitably going to happen as this continued out, right? Now, at the time, people had the comment of get good and all the rest of the crap people say on the initial release, but this like situation with Path of Exile isn't new, or Path of Exile 2 isn't new. The same issues that people are starting to see here did exist in the last league, before they nerfed a bunch of things. The big problem was that if you were playing off meta builds, yeah, you were going through the struggle, and that's why people were critical. Now they've taken away a lot of the blast builds and the meta sort of rotations that people were aware of, and people are realizing just how hard the campaign actually is and unenjoyable it is. Now, there are some people of you that will be like, the campaign's fun. That's great if you think it's fun. for the vast majority, it is absolute garbage right now. Like, it's not good. It's in a horrific state. I could not recommend this game if you were going to play it as your main game. I'm playing it as my main game because I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. And also, I just specialize in tanky builds, right? As we can see from my last video and the next one that'll come out tomorrow night when I get to mapping on stream tonight. My builds are going okay because you can hit me with a lot of damage and I can take it. But for anyone else trying to play different builds or meta builds from last league and stuff like that, yeah, it's a pretty unenjoyable experience. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover off on. Like, that's what I can see looking at the stats when I have a look at the drop rates. Now, a couple of other things happened today as well. So if you were looking at the whirlwind sort of situation that was going around where people were nuking bosses with whirlwinds, yeah, that's been nerfed. That got nerfed today. So fixed a bug where causing elemental twister gained 50% of damage as damage of the corresponding type on twister to gain extra 50% for each projectile fired. So basically the damage was like stacking up exponentially. I argue that's not even that's not really a bug. It shouldn't be a bug. That should be sort of how it works, but should be toned down. But you know, not according to the devs. And the other one is the patch that was put out this morning, which was or last night, which was 020 B. Now, this is all non-new unique monsters have less health, tapering from 100% to 75%. But see, the problem with that is they say 100% of the rescaled health pools, right? So they've clearly adjusted the baseline to make it higher. So 100% is not the same 100% as what it was the last time we played the game in point one, right? So this patch note is highly, highly facetious in the way that it's been worded to take 100% to 75%. Okay, does that 100% mean it was 2000 in point one and is it still 2000 now? Or did you make it 5000, right? Versus the 2000 it was in the previous league and just tone 5000 down to 75% of 5000, which is still much higher than what it would have been the 2000 in the previous patch. And that's how I interpret this. I actually think this is horrifically bad wording, highly facetious, and like this is just them anchoring in line with their vision as they have for a very long time. Whether or not you agree with that, like I'm not gonna like do a hatchet job video like a number of other people have, but I just don't think that this is appropriate wording. Like, be upfront and honest about what you're doing at the end of the day. Don't word it like this. Percentages mean absolutely nothing. Percentages are totally distortive, and you really need to know what the numbers are. Now, having a look at some of the health levels and the amount of damage that I have to output to take down bosses is obscene. It doesn't make any sense at all, and it's just unfun. Like, the way that GGG has scaled difficulty is not about making combat like engaging, it's just about increasing the HP numbers of the bosses. And then thinking, well, if you dodge enough attacks that they throw at you, then that's going to be fun. That's not fun. If the fight takes too long, the it's not fun. And also in a lot of those cases, like if you don't have a lot of regeneration, you're not tanky, you're not going to outlast that fight. A lot of people I've seen in comments and in stream and stuff like that have just bailed out by the end of Act 2 or Act 3. Like, I know my experience with taking Jamanra was running around in a circle, throwing explosive spears at him until he eventually died, which took about 10 minutes. That is the most unfun leveling experience that I think you could put in a game. And I've never played even a bad build in Path of Exile 1, and I've played nearly 9,000 or 10,000 hours of Path of Exile 1 split over two clients, as in the base client, the off Steam client, and the Steam client. I've played that for 12 years, right? I have never had an experience that was so horrifically bad in leveling in Path of Exile 1 as I have in Path of Exile 2. Even with a build where I'm having fun with in Path of Exile 2, it is an absolute slog compared to Path of Exile 1. That being said, if your build starts to curve and get better by, Act 3 Cruel, that's pretty much where your early mapping is going to be, and it's going to feel good unless you're playing minions. Minions just got nerfed into the tooth. Monks are less powerful. Everything is so much less powerful. Basically, what I'm going to say is Warrior's the best build because I think someone made this comment. Essentially, GGG just nerfed everything down to the initial Warrior level, and the Warrior from point one was the baseline for every build, and that's what they're going with. That's where they think that's the line that they're drawing in the sand for their game. They think that that's fun. And they even admitted that Warrior was not in a good state. So their solution was to make everything on par with the Warrior, which is funny as hell. Which actually makes the Warrior, and in particular the Smith, basically the best build archetype in Path of Exile 2 right now because you can actually take damage, whereas everything else you're going to get one hit. They did make a few other changes here. Um, Rogue Exiles. I fought one today. Rogue Exiles are a waste of time. Um, they all have run mechanics. They don't stand and bang, which means fight head on. They all run away and they all use Holy Descent so that they can just regenerate like 25% of their life instantly and totally mitigate your damage. So if you can catch them, good luck. And if you do catch them, good luck trying to kill them because you're not going to be able to outlaw put enough DPS to be able to take them down. So you just avoid them. It's not even worth wasting your time until you get to like maps and then attempt it. Tempest Spell got rebuffed because they realized that was horrible. It's almost like it was never tested. The problem too, by the way, is like people say it's EA, but they treated this game like it was fully released. And I've heard this comment too, and I agree. They're treating the patch like it's a league release, and that's the feel, that's the look, that's how they sort of build the optic. What they really just need to do is just keep patching on the fly, like not bulk up patches like what they did. Just keep patch. Yep, people will get upset, metas will break. That's going to happen. I think the real problem here is they just launched into EA too early and they just weren't prepared and needed like another 12 months to get completed. But, I think they were thinking, oh, the community will stick with us and whatever else, all the rest of things. But unfortunately, it's not looking great at this point. They did something with curses. I don't play curse builds, so I don't really care. Explosive grenade and Voltaxic grenade cooldowns have been lowered to 5 seconds. I think they made them like 10 or 15 seconds, which is just like, why? Um, anyway, so moral of the story. What are my thoughts on the patch so far? Look, I'm having fun because my build is decent, right? And I'm actually really glad that you guys in the community were like, play the warrior, do something different and maybe screw it up because you guys were absolutely 100% bang on right. I'm glad I listened to the community on the build they were playing, and I'm glad I didn't play Amazon. That also being said, like, I really hope they're taking the feedback on board and coming out with some big stuff. We're probably not going to see any big changes for a few days at this stage, if not a week. And it's already sort of run too far its course. A lot of the player base is going to dip out in the next few days because it's just unfun, or the remaining remnants will be the market that they're really going after. The biggest issue here is obviously Last Epoch comes out, and I think Last Epoch's going to be taking notes if they're smart, and they're just going to release the greatest like patch with so much content. It's going to be fantastic. I'm actually looking at buying a supporter pack for that because I think they deserve my money more than GGG right now. And I've never said that ever in the past 12 or 13 years. I still think Path of Exile 2 will be good. I'm not going to totally bake on. There are good elements of it. I really like Explosive Spear and I'm scaling it up and I think I know how to get it to work now. And I know other people have criticisms about it, but it does get better. Low life mechanics are actually really good. And there's a new helm that allows you to do that. Like, I haven't had a lot of the new uniques drop. And that's the problem. Like, you're not getting enough leveling uniques drop to be able to sustain like any unique like campaign run builds and stuff like that. Like, you're just not getting anything for your time. You're getting lackluster drops on bosses, everything. And it comes back to, I feel like they've overtuned the bosses way too far. And the other problem here is they make the comment, non-unique monsters have less life. The problem is the bosses. The bosses are horrifically overtuned. Like, unique enemies are way too overtuned. So this last patch, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to try not to be negative in these videos because I'm just at a point where you just take it for what it is, right? You just have a bit of a chuckling, like, oh, this is a dumpster fire. But at the end of the day, am I having fun? Yeah, because I learned how to play the warrior and I learned how to play it well. If I wasn't playing spears, I'd be playing magma barrier because both are really strong. Actually, magma barrier seems fun, and I want to do a bash build as well. I think I'm just going to stick to playing the smith because the smith is good. I saw Quinn's footage with the smith as well with the anvil. It's the stupidest mechanic I've ever seen and totally not viable. So yeah, that's the thing now. In the middle of the fight, and you smash an amp. I don't know who's coming up with these ideas, but they're not good. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Look, try and have fun with the game. I'd say is just try and see the positives of what you can see out of it. Run a tanky build, you'll have a better experience. Don't play the Huntress right now, and avoid minions like the Plague as well because they're not good either. But like I put out the build list, monks are going to be okay. Warriors are pretty okay. Bone Shatter setups are working pretty okay. You know, stun, all that stuff with Titan works. There were buffs there. Probably Lightning Arrow. I haven't tested it, but Lightning Arrow is probably consistent. People are probably still playing it. Like, there will still be a bunch of builds from last league that were good. I think the bombardment skill or whatnot, or artillery ballistas, is pretty OP at the moment based on what Jungron's doing. There's stuff out there that's really cool, that's worth your time to play. Don't get too choked up on it. And if you get really stuck, you got to re-roll. Check out poe.ninja or poe.ninja, and you might be able to get some good build archetypes there that people are coming up with. Usually they have some stuff that is really, really niche that people are figuring out that the streamers haven't figured out. Um, and yeah, usually poe.ninja is a really good resource. If you guys want me to have a look at stuff like that and do a bit of a video covering off on some of the unique builds on poe.ninja that look like they could work really well, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, if you don't mind content like this one's a bit of an informal video. Don't forget to like and sub to the channel. And until next time, I will see you guys later and try and have fun. Remember, it's only game, right? It's only game. All right. Anyway, have a good one, guys. All right. See you guys later.